We have walked through the residential resale real estate purchase contract from start to finish. We covered offer structure, financing, disclosures, due diligence, remedies, walkthroughs, loan assumption, and specialty contingencies. Now we close with one of the most common addenda in today's Arizona market, the solar addendum. In the metropolitan Phoenix area, solar is no longer rare. It is common in Gilbert, Queen Creek, Chandler, Mesa, Surprise, Peoria, and throughout Maricopa County. With utility costs rising and net metering rules evolving, solar panels are now a material component of many transactions. The solar addendum ensures clarity regarding ownership, leases, loans, rate plans, tax credits, and transfer obligations. This is not optional when solar is present. It is risk management. Seller-owned or utility-owned solar system. If the solar system is owned outright by seller or will be paid off at COE, only Sections 1 and 3 apply. Seller must deliver all solar system documents within 3 days after contract acceptance. Buyer has the inspection period or 5 days after receipt of documents, whichever is later, to disapprove. Gilbert example seller owns solar system free and clear. Seller provides warranty documents, installation contract, inverter warranty, and production guarantees. Buyer reviews during inspection period. If buyer fails to disapprove within the time frame, buyer is deemed to proceed. Deadlines matter. Always tie this back to Section 6, due diligence, and Section 7, cure period. Solar lease or solar loan, assumption structure. If solar is subject to a lease or unpaid loan, Section 2 applies. This is extremely common in Phoenix area resale homes. Seller must deliver the lease or loan documents, provide contact information for lessor notify, lessor of sale, disclose whether payments are current, buyer must review documents carefully, apply immediately for assumption, cooperate with lessor. This functions similarly to a loan assumption addendum, but applies to equipment attached to the property. Lease loan assumption contingency. Buyer's obligation to close is contingent upon receiving assumption approval no later than 3 days prior to COE. If buyer cannot obtain approval despite diligent effort and provides notice within the required time frame, the contract cancels and earnest money is returned. If buyer fails to give notice, seller may issue a cure notice under Section 7A, and buyer may risk breach exposure under Section 7B. Chandler example, buyer applies for solar lease assumption but fails credit qualification. Buyer timely delivers notice 3 days before COE. Contract cancels and earnest money returns. Timelines are everything. Credit score fees, a newer practical issue. Some lessors impose credit score fees if buyer does not meet minimum score. Buyer may cancel within the inspection period or 5 days after receiving notice of the fee. If buyer elects to proceed, the fee is non-refundable. Mesa example. Buyer must pay $3,500 credit adjustment fee to assume lease. Buyer chooses to proceed due to overall favorable purchase terms. This must be documented clearly. Solar tax credit loan balance reduction. If the seller receives solar tax credits that require loan balance reduction, seller is responsible for satisfying that requirement so buyer can assume loan properly. Failure to address this can derail closing. Transfer fees and rate plan risks. Transfer fees, document processing fees, and warranty transfer fees must be allocated between parties. More importantly, rate plan continuity is critical. If utilities are shut off or rate plan changes occur before COE, net metering status may be lost. Arizona utilities, including SRP and APS, have specific rate plans. If seller changes rate plan between acceptance and COE and it results in a less favorable plan, it may constitute a change under Section 4F, changes during escrow. Scottsdale example seller disconnects power prior to COE. Buyer loses grandfathered net metering status. That could trigger contractual remedies. This is why the addendum requires utilities to remain on through COE. Buyer due diligence. What must be investigated? If solar is a material matter, buyer must investigate within the allotted timeframe. This includes age of system battery storage, lease expiration terms, production guarantees, roof integrity, warranties, maintenance obligations, insurance coverage, utility, billing history, tax implications. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Tie this back to ARS, paragraph 32-2153, grounds for discipline. If you misrepresent solar production or fail to disclose known material facts, disciplinary exposure exists. Tie it back to Hill v. Jones, 1990. Sellers must disclose material latent defects. If solar system has known defects affecting value, Disclosure is required. Broker limitation of liability. The addendum clearly states brokers are not qualified to advise on solar cost, insurability, operation, or transferability. This aligns with AAC R4 281101, professional conduct. Agents must exercise reasonable care but not exceed scope of licensure. Encourage consultation with solar company licensed electrician tax advisor. Attorney, this protects you and your client. Why solar addendum matters in today's market. In the Phoenix metro area, solar can increase value, decrease value, improve monthly affordability, create financing complications, trigger HOA approval requirements. It is not neutral, it is material. Why must buyer review solar lease terms within the inspection period? Answer: because failure to timely disapprove is deemed acceptance, and buyer becomes obligated to assume the lease or loan under existing terms. Why must utilities remain on through close of escrow? Answer: because turning off utilities or changing rate plans can result in loss of favorable net metering status and may constitute a contractual change. Why does the addendum emphasize broker non-liability? Answer: because evaluating solar system cost, performance, and tax implications is beyond the scope of real estate licensure. Course wrap-up. Closing statement. You have now completed the full residential resale real estate purchase contract structure from beginning to end. You understand how offers are formed and accepted, how disclosures protect parties, how due diligence is conducted, how inspections are negotiated, how contingencies operate, how breaches are cured, how remedies are enforced, how addenda modify risk, how specialty addenda, like loan assumption and solar impact transactions. You have learned how Arizona law, including ARS, paragraph 32-2153, AAC, R4 281101, and key case law such as Hill v. Jones, shape disclosure, and professional responsibility. You have seen real-world Phoenix examples. You understand timelines. You understand leverage. You understand risk. Are there more addenda and forms you will encounter? Absolutely. Seller carryback addendum, short sale addendum, HOA addendum, on-site wastewater addendum, affiliated business disclosure, buyer-broker compensation agreements, and many others. But this is a powerful starting point. Contract writing is not about filling in blanks. It is about understanding consequences. When you draft properly, you protect your client. When you understand deadlines, you protect earnest money. When you use addenda correctly, you manage risk. When you follow the law, you protect your license. You are no longer just writing contracts. You are structuring legally binding agreements. And in today's evolving Arizona market, that knowledge separates professionals from amateurs. Congratulations. You now have the foundation to write contracts with clarity, confidence, and competence in the metropolitan Phoenix real estate market.